Everyone. How's everyone doing this evening? Happy New Year to you as well. It's just surprising how we're at the end of, almost at the end of the month. And welcome to the Keystone-Monon Planning Community Group or Community Planning Group meeting. This is just one of several that we've had for some time, beginning back in April of last year. And of course, who's involved in this planning session? You are. Dozens of residents, business owners, anchor institutions, and community organizations have indicated that they have an interest in participating and supporting this city certified planning process. And for those who will be viewing this electronically, we invite you to participate. We're going to start our meeting off today by introducing ourselves. I'll go ahead and start because I should have did that at the beginning. I'm Danita Hoskin, and I'm community builder for Midtown Indy. I'm excited to be here in this space and regarding this process, because what happens in one community affects all others. There's a lot of change that's going on in the Keystone-Monon area, and it's important that we're all a part of it. And not just us, it's important that we share with our neighbors. I've been with Midtown Indy since August of last year, but I've worked with the leadership at Midtown Indy for a number of years in the community. And so this is just this is like a destiny for me. This is what I enjoy doing. I'm going to go ahead and allow you all to introduce yourselves as well. And we'll start to my left, Carrington.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carrington Sanders. I'm the mayor's neighbor advocate for Martin Bright Area 7. I work in the mayor's office, and this is my 5th month in this role. You all may know who Greg Garrett is. My name for his old role. And so nice to meet you all. I was letting faces many times I've been at the Keystone-Monon meetings, and I'm happy to be here, happy to see everyone this evening, as well as joining us on Zoom, is it?
Yes, we're on Zoom.
Okay.
And we're recording. Thank you. All right. And so we'll just continue left around the room, and then we'll have the people that are online introduce themselves.
My name is Mike Palmer. I'm a resident in this neighborhood. I've lived at 51st and Lowell now for a little over 20 years. I run a home-based business called Midtown-Monon out of the house. And I'm just here because I found out about this through Midtown. This neighborhood needs some leadership. I think it's really been lacking in attention from the city as far as roads, sidewalks, improvements. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm Andy Whitmire, I'm a resident in the area.
Thank you, Andy.
Matthew Burry, new resident in the area. So just interested in what might be presented, help revitalize the neighborhood.
Awesome. Thank you.
John Christian and Christine Bachman. We are business owners of Gold Leaf down the street on 46th Street. We're also part of the 46th Street Coalition.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Cameron, I live in the neighborhood and want things to be good and better.
All right. Thank you so much.
Tom, I also live in the neighborhood, want things to be good and better. Been here since, I do. Been here since December 2020, and I like this neighborhood. It's nice and chill, but like I could use some better roads and all those fun things.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, my name is Jesse Bryce. I'm a business owner in the neighborhood. I'm also organizer at the 46th Street Coalition, and I am here to do your bidding.
All right. Thank you. Hey, how are you? We're introducing ourselves.
Brandon Powell with the 49th and Roslyn, and actually sit on the Midtown board as well.
Thank you. We're gonna have the persons that are online to introduce themselves. I'll start with you, Taylor.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Taylor Firestein. I am a resident right on the edge of the neighborhood. I've lived at 46th in the Monon since January 2020. And I'm also a planner by trade. And I've lived in Indy for, I guess, going on 7 years now already. But yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you, Taylor. Mary Ann, is it?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Marianne Krupa. I just live in the neighborhood across the street from Goldleaf. Hi, guys.
Well, welcome. Zach. Good evening, sir.
Hi there, Zach Deitch. I'm a resident of the neighborhood, lived here since 2019, but have kind of been in the area for the last 10 years. Grew up on the south side. Just interested in what you guys are doing and how we can improve the walkability and the, I guess, draw to the area and improve it for people who want to stay here long term or move into the area.
Awesome, thank you. And Michael, I left you for last purposely.
That's fine. Good evening, everybody. Good to see some of you again. Happy to see so many new faces in the room. I'm Michael McKillop, the Executive Director of Midtown Indy, and here to co-facilitate digitally with Danita, and certainly to answer any questions people have about the certified planning process and next steps. And with that, we'll turn it over to Danita. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you so very much. So in crafting the plan, how many of you know what a certified plan is? And it's not to put you on the spot, just to see if you know. Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate that because, you know, many of us didn't know what a certified plan was or know what a certified plan is. But before I answer that question about what is a certified plan, I want to make sure that you know why Midtown Indy is involved in this plan, and then I'll answer that question. So the reason Midtown Indy is leading the charge on this is because we've been asked to do so. Stakeholders in the community, such as yourselves, contacted us and invited us to help in facilitating this certified community plan process. And a lot of that has to do because of our experience in advocating for neighborhoods. We advocate for right now 20 neighborhoods in the Mid-North area. So it continues to grow, which is a great thing. And so while Midtown Indy encompasses the 20 neighborhoods between White River, Fall Creek Parkway, and Keystone Avenue, we regularly work with stakeholders to gather input on their community needs. So we don't claim to know it all, but we're here to learn from you while supporting the community. And of course, you can always visit midtownindy.org to learn more about us. Okay, so what is a certified plan? And I know that I'm co-facilitating with Michael, but I want to also invite Brandon to please feel free to interject anytime you so desire, sir. Okay. All right, thank you. So let me just get to what is a plan. It's a step-by-step process, and it's designed by the city of Indianapolis to encourage community excellence in planning by gathering input from the neighbors and members across the entire demographic spectrum. The segments types, you know, residents, businesses, stakeholders, those who just recreate here. It's a document of neighborhood preferences and their aspirations to inform the use of the land and to aid in zoning decision-making bodies, which is the Board of Zoning Appeals, Metropolitan Development Commission, and the City Council. The certified plan may be used by the city to amend the city's comprehensive plan and it aids in guiding in the infrastructure and the green space investments that the city make. This process is generally a process that takes about 18 to 24 months. So we're just at the very beginning of that stage. Many of you are, because you've been here a long time, you know the history of the Keystone-Monon area. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael, who will articulate the history of the Keystone-Monon and where we're going with that tonight.
Thanks, Danita. The Keystone-Monon community is very unique in the general Midtown area, as only about a quarter of the neighborhood was built at the time. The rest of Midtown was built in the early 1900s, 1920s, and 1930s. The other 3/4 of the neighborhood was built post 1940, which means the housing type is unique. It means it's been predominantly an affordable, working class, very proud neighborhood. It was late to get infrastructure. The area didn't get functional sewers until the late 30s, 40s, in some areas until the 50s. And Arsenal Park was part of the Workers' Progress Administration post World War II in terms of designating Arsenal Park a community park. It was a very collective effort. So we know that there is a lot of pride in this community. But we also know that in the last 5 to 10 years, market forces have altered the community. There's been a large influx of new residents. The community for the last 25 years has been predominantly a community of color, 68%. We've seen those demographics shift to the point that it's about a 48% community of color today. And so we know there's a lot of transition happening. And as we've seen in other neighborhoods, sometimes that transition is positive and sometimes it can have a displacement effect. And so part of the impetus to facilitate and to help the community articulate a certified plan is because it's really your pathway and your voice to the city to interact with how things are happening, infrastructure investments, that's streets, sidewalks, street lamps, multimodal trails, parks. It's how developments like you see happening that currently have 46th Street closed over at 46th in the Monon. And there's also a number of critical things happening in your community with the disposition or change of ownership of large tracts of land. The Indiana School for the Deaf has been at least tentatively slated for consolidation with the School for the Blind. And there's 80 acres of land that its future is uncertain at this time. I think the State Fair may attempt to acquire it. Developers may attempt to acquire it. We really don't know what the state is going to do yet. You also have a new school with Butler Lab 2 taking over Eliza Blaker about 2 years ago, which seems to be driving a lot of folks wanting to go to that school, moving in proximity to the school. We've seen IPS changes with schools going from K to 8 to K through 5 next school year. And so it's really there's a great transition happening in your community right now. And so really, I don't like to say before it's too late, but there's never been a better time to get engaged, to articulate your voice, and to determine the community that you want to be part of and how you want that community to grow moving forward. There are a number of brownfields and or vacant properties. There's a lot of out-of-state ownership of residential and commercial property in the community. And the certified plan process is really a pathway for you to begin to take charge of what happens to those. It's a beacon to the development community to build what you want. And it's also a clear message to the city of Indianapolis about how you see your community growing or not growing in the years ahead. And so what will happen, the first order of this is to make sure that we make awareness that a planning process is happening to as many stakeholders as possible, which for some of you who have been here, this meeting will feel a little bit like a repeat. And we do that intentionally so we can, as far and wide as we possibly can, people can be aware that this process is happening and that they're invited to it. We're not writing your plan, we're facilitating your plan. So you will write your plan. And we have to do it collaboratively, and we have to do it collectively. And we really, really need as many neighbors as possible, business owners, organizational leaders, churches, residents to know and engage in the process, whether that's coming to a meeting or simply signing up for the news and information that we have on the website. We have started mailing a series of postcards to residents and businesses in the neighborhood. So everybody will have a chance to connect and touch this process. Folks don't have to come to every single meeting. Our goal right now is really to establish a formal steering committee of community stakeholders of your choice. And so we're looking for folks who identify that they desire to serve on this steering committee and to guide and lead your community. And we're looking for you to tell us that you approve of those individuals. And so our goal is sometime in February, probably by the 15th, to begin to identify a slate of candidates and let the community ratify those candidates so we can begin to break the plan down into its various component parts. There will be committees on infrastructure, public safety, crime, business, investment, land use, zoning, green space, but we can't put the cart before the horse. And so we have to identify your community leadership first. And everybody who's in this room and been coming to this room is a great start. We just want your help spreading the word, talking to your neighbors, talking to the places that you patronage for businesses, to make people aware of the process so we can get this information and news out to as many people as possible. We've done many plans like this, though this is almost everyone's first certified plan. There are only 3 city certified plans on the record in the city of Indianapolis right now, because it's a relatively new process, one that requires extensive engagement and documentation. And we are up to help you get there. And the first step is you all showing up tonight. Hopefully you see, as we do, that there's a lot of change happening in your neighborhood. And we want you to feel empowered to have a voice in that change. Happy to answer any questions you have about this. Otherwise, we'll let Danita take it back over.
So don't be afraid to ask questions. I've always heard there's no question that is unanswerable. I'll use that phrase. So what questions do you have? I know many of you are here tonight for the first time, and you thought, well, maybe I'll just come and listen and see what's going on. But there are some questions in the back of your mind. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Guess I'll just say something. I know that Michael at the end of the year last year put some emphasis on the fact that we have a sort of a time clock on the funds that you all got for us or that you're holding for us. So maybe since we have so many new people, if we want to go over what that's going to be used for or what we need to decide on, because I also have a similar ticking clock on ours.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about $5,000 from the National Association of Realtors to help support the engagement in the process. And because we had to spend that by the end of the year, we invested the bulk of that in the notifications and the postcards that are being mailed. We're mailing about 7,000 of those out each issue. And so that came out to a little over 5,000, almost $6,000. And we're covering the difference on that. But those time limited grant funds that came in all went into the awareness push to make folks aware that this planning process is happening and how to engage in it. Those won't be the last dollars that come into this process. We've estimated that in total, there'll be some data and consulting needs down the road as the process gets going. There'll be some graphic design and mapping processes that need to be contracted. We've committed our staff time over the course of this process to cover that piece. And then, I think we did agree with at least initially with the informal steering committee that at some point we'll, as a community, want to raise some dollars together to support the planning process. But Jesse, I think you had some news on a grant that came through for the 46th Street work as well, right?
Yeah, so I'll need your help, and I think we exchanged a few emails about it, but I don't expect you to remember every minor detail. But yeah, we applied for a grant last year and got, it was a $10,000 grant with the INRC for gateway signage. So we'll have to figure out where we want to place those signs, and then I specifically need your help with, just steering me in the right direction for the permit process.
Yeah, having been through that before, Jesse, with Warfley and other neighborhoods, they'll want all of your sign locations, permissions signed off. They'll, you know, if it's a utility pole or a cell tower, they'll want those entities to approve it and send
Sure.
formal before they'll release your grant funds. So I think I know we got a similar grant for another project from INRC. And I think they're looking at an end of March timeline to try to get those approvals in place. So we can connect offline and once you identify where you think you want those, happy to help channel connections to Verizon or AT&T or AES, whoever owns the pole, unless it's going to be on private property, visible on the corridor. Private property is often easier than getting those utilities to comply, but they have been supportive of these kind of signage things in other Midtown neighborhoods. So I'm sure we can help you get that in order.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure I can talk Brian and Jesse into doing one here on our corner as we enter at the nickel plate here. It would probably be down at 46th Street by the Monon. We need to find a place, and then wherever else it's being drawn. I mean, 10,000 is a lot for signs, so probably get quite a few signs.
Well, you'd be surprised. It doesn't go as far as you might think it would. At least it didn't in Warfley. But it depends on the signage type and the mounting types and that sort of thing. But I think there's also a couple other opportunities. There's some good nonprofit partners, the Black Firefighters Association, the Patachu Foundation, that new development that's underway there at 46 in the Monon. Holiday Properties has been fairly open to potential collaborations. So if we can just help facilitate any of those conversations, certainly let me know.
Hey, Michael.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I think the good news is that people are willing to invest in your community because they see the importance and the vitality of this affordable community thriving and being sustainable over the long term.
Thank you. Brandon, not to put you on the spot, but you're in a unique position as a resident in the community as well as a board member with Midtown Indy. And so I really like for you, if you wouldn't mind sharing your perspective on this certified plan.
So I think the whole, like, having a certified plan gives us a place at the table, mainly with like developers and whatnot, of like, we had messy conversations with neighbors to come to a consensus on this is what people want. So when you go downtown, sometimes you have to remonstrate or support or whatever. When someone's trying to do something, the neighborhood has a voice at that table. So I think this is this effort and us coming together is something that I wish would be replicated. That there's only 3 plans that exist right now. I mean, it's a little big on the city that they're making it hard, but or we might say it's not hard. We're going through the process. From the standpoint of Midtown, we have an organization that's walking with us, who this is part of their core competency. I think that, you know, we all have our what we do for a living and whatnot. We're not concentrating on it. They will aid it with, or they'll walk with us, make sure that what is achieved is then executable. Like that's the big thing of we just don't have paper that just sits there. Out of that paper, a lot of other things can spark and people take ownership of. So it is about bringing community together or bringing us together, not just to build like the certified plan, but kind of hopefully a spark that will start doing other projects and bringing things to fruition that are in this plan.
So is there already a draft copy of the plan?
Yeah, because we talked about it at the last meeting, it was like, it would be great to have another neighborhood who has their plan, actually see it. A part of me is like, I just want to take their business plan and slap on, like formatting and everything else to see what what process did they go through, what was achieved, and then truly, like, to me, it's like, what's executable, like, what do we get out of it?
Which is why it's important that we have as many people engaged in the process as possible to create those working groups. And develop that steering committee. Another thing that came out of the last meeting was to help to have the city identify a designated planning personnel. And so last meeting, we had Britt Red, who is a planner, senior planner, I believe, now with, because of her position, the senior planner with the Department of Metropolitan Development. And so the great thing about it is they understand and they know that we're in the process of going through the certified plan, and they're willing to step up and help us in the plan. So you heard Michael share that we'd like to start putting those working groups together by the 15th. We were going to meet on the 1st, but it may not be enough time to have the persons slated who have indicated that they'd like to be on those on the steering committee and on those other working groups. But by the 15th, we should have a general idea with your help as to who may be interested in being on that committee. They may not be here tonight. They may see it online, but we need you and we need your voices to help carry this information.
Can we get some kind of a flyer made like we did before that we can put around?
Yes, so of course, this was the first postcard that Michael spoke of, and we have the second one that's going out. And I like the idea of a flyer. But the second postcard will be going out to the same doors. And so that's 7,000 doors that postcard goes to. And it too will have the QR code that will lead individuals to our page. And I can share with you that we've seen a tremendous uptick in interest from our neighbors here. Yes, Michael.
Well, I was just going to say that one of the things we can do is kind of help put together a draft job description for what the steering committee does to help people make a more informed decision. We can probably get that to you well before the first, and can start pushing that. You know, once we get at least some community feedback on understanding that job description. It's not a heavy lift, but these should be individuals that have some connection to their community. They could be business owners, organizational leaders, or just longtime residents or new residents. But it's people who are willing to be announcers of planning information, do some networking, occasionally knock on some doors, and ostensibly have some history and new perspectives on the neighborhood. It's not a hard job. It is a long job. I mean, this is an 18 to 24 month process. So we're looking for some folks who are willing to help bring the community together over the long term. But you don't have to have a particular degree or background. It's really more of your role and willingness to work in the community to do this work. And we can kind of sketch out what that looks like. The steering committee will determine the meeting frequency, the committees, the help articulate the expectations of the committee chairs. They'll set the standards. We will help them set those standards. But remember, this is your plan, not our plan. So we can tell you how to plan, but we can't tell you what you write down. It's your community. So we'll be here to keep pushing that process and supporting that process. But we can absolutely kind of give you a flyer that articulates what the steering committee is. It's hard to speak to the meeting commitments because the steering committee will determine that for itself based on some recommendations of when they want the plan to be done. It's going to take a lot of different meetings and different focuses. We will break the community down to some degree to zones. We've talked about those in the past. I think there's 3 different zones where we'll host meetings specific to those 3 zones, specific to commercial corridors at large and public spaces like parks and greenways and those sort of things. So there's really an opportunity for everybody, whatever your interest is. If you don't care about business or you don't care about sidewalks, you care about housing or vice versa, there will be a meeting for you to participate in for sure.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question. I'll make more also of an introduction. So I'm Andrea Dragus. I'm a neighbor here in the fairgrounds. But I also contract with reconnecting to our waterways, which works with Fall Creek and White River, which border this area. But I've also worked with neighborhoods that have quality of life plans, these certified community plans in the Near East Side of South Indy. And so I was just wondering what type of folks have already started to engage on this process, and have folks been more interested in like business development and housing side of things, or has there been interest in like natural preservation? I thought Taylor Firestone down here, like health by design. So like accessibility and things like that. What type of interest has this drawn so far? And also how could organization like grow also support, because I think there's some ways that can help with that as well.
Awesome, thank you. Well, all of it is on the table, truthfully. And so we've had a lot of interest generated around housing, affordable housing, the parks. You heard Michael share just a menu of items that all of our neighborhoods want to make our communities better. We have, the mayor made the announcement earlier about the $80 million that's dedicated for the parks. One of them's right here in our area here. So that's going to be a huge accomplishment for this area. But we definitely need your committee and your organization to be a part of this planning process. And I'm equally excited that not only do you work with the organization, you're also a neighbor.
I really enjoy this area, so I'm glad to finally start being involved with this.
Oh, absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. So that leads me to a question that we asked at the last committee meeting, and it helped to identify some next steps as we're looking at providing some descriptions to those for the steering committee and those other working groups. Just, the skeleton of it, because the group's going to really help drive how that description and what they want for that particular group will be. But the question is, what do you find is the biggest challenge that this neighborhood is facing?
I'm a renter, and so dealing with finding places to live has been really challenging. I've been in Indy since 2019 and have lived in several different places in this area. Just because rents go up, out of town landlords, out of properties, and so affordable housing is definitely a primary concern for me. But also I really love this area because of its connection to the trails and the greenway. That's what initially drew me before I even started working for the org, and it's that I work with, and the waterways. So I think this area has a lot of really underrated natural enjoyment that folks can take part of, and it feels like a different part of the city in a really positive way, and that feels a little disconnected, but you're also at the heart of a lot of really exciting things, especially full development like Blue and Golden and Black Service.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to take a stab at that? What do you see as one of the biggest challenges for this neighborhood right now?
Being new, it's briefly bought the home back in September, you say maybe wrong. Meaning in the residential areas like Amazon packages, rummaging through cars at night, things like that.
Yes, sir.
Like assess crime tomorrow evening. Which side was it?
On the 9th in person.
Tomorrow night is the Bel Air Neighborhood Association, and we talked to our IPD representative.
I mean, I haven't personally had anything done, but I see it on next time a lot. And
He's a really cool guy. So tomorrow night, we'll see.
okay.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing that. And please give the time and the address for that meeting, please.
I will in a moment.
Thank you, Cameron.
So are there already neighborhood associations in place for this area? Because I've been here 20 years and it's not there.
So there's KMNA, which is the Keystone-Monon Neighborhood Association, which has gone through many different like starts and like upstarts, down, upstart back. And then there's the Bel Air Neighborhood Association, which is a part of, you can say it's a part of the Keystone-Monon Neighborhood Association, kind of, which is an upstart neighborhood association, about maybe about a year and a half to 2 years old. And sometimes that's a little complicated. So the overall area has always been Keystone-Monon.
Okay.
Which goes from Keystone all the way to the Monon Trail, Fairgrounds, all the way up to 54th Street. So it includes that little node that most people think is Meridian Kessler, like at 54th and the Monon. It's actually part of this neighborhood. But that neighborhood association has had many ebbs and flows. We right before COVID, we were starting to bring in KMNA back again, and have a lot of different conversations and whatnot. But again, COVID kind of squashed that a little bit. And so this whole process now of developing the certified plan, hopefully will bring about the true neighborhood association as well.
Yeah.
It's like, or bring back, like, it will identify it. So.
As long as someone's having regular meetings, no one.
Yeah, but it is a little complicated that, like, the city approved another neighborhood association within a neighborhood association, just kind of odd. So we had, like Bel Air came about, and that kind of also was just like ebb and flow, or not ebb and flow, it was complicated.
So how does, I mean, again, I've never had any communication from either one in 20 years. And it seems like before you are gonna get a type of plan together, the association more involved or
Yeah,
more
it's,
inclusive.
the hardest thing is to do a neighborhood association, especially in this
Sure.
neighborhood that is very disjointed between, we're essentially almost 3 different neighborhoods, if you look at it, like, and it's very transient. So like even, Meridian Kessler Neighborhood Association for years had an executive director who was paid, and they did a lot. They hardly exist right now. So we are now more social in society, but more disconnected when it comes to actually our time to put towards things that, like, of getting together, actually do actual social things. This is, and again, it is a beast to actually tackle, like, this part of, like, where we are right now. And then between 46 and 49, or between 46 and 52nd. I mean, it's very dense, but very we are one of the densest neighborhoods. So you would think they'll be like, hey, let's come out, let's get people there, but it's still complicated. But then when you go over 54, I'm sorry, 50, get the streets mixed up. Bad, I'm getting old. 52nd to 54. That's totally, like, they don't know, like, it's a different world there. And if you look at the house, even like the price points, we're broken up that way.
Zip code changes at 52nd Street.
Zip code does change, right? So, that's been it's a struggle, but hopefully this certified plan lays out, it says, hey, this identifies the neighborhood. Then there's a cohesive plan for 46th Street, for 52nd Street, for 54th Street. And again, like, going through this conversation, people consistently coming out, will give light to a neighborhood association that not just in a website form, but is actually truly activated and people are actually taking a part in it. But again, like, yeah, this is the one step, this is the hard stuff.
Well, and I would agree with Brandon, but I would also say that it's not terribly unusual for associations within associations to form. We have, I think, 3 or 4 other large neighborhoods with 2 or 3 sub neighborhoods within them. That happens for a lot of different reasons. Either there's a dysfunctional association and a more organized group of neighbors that want to sort of chart their own micro future. So it's not really a problem. It actually adds to the diversity of perspective. If we do this process right, we will identify and demonstrate the value of more functional neighborhood associations, and maybe Keystone-Monon, maybe this process says that there's 3 different distinct areas that want to form together, or maybe the Keystone-Monon the KMNA group wants to reform, and we identify individuals to help restand that up and to boost their capacity. But in the meantime, all of this is more reason to engage in this process, because I see some great value there. I know Jesse and Brian and others on 46th Street, business owners, Gold Leaf and others are really focusing on bringing businesses together in that corridor, and that can be a really unifying opportunity as well. So just stay tuned, believe in the process. I think you will see a lot of organic growth out of this process.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. I know that we had someone join us online. How you doing, Ellie? Did you have any questions at this time? And if not, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. My name is Eleanor, and I live south of 46th Street in the neighborhood, and I've been here for a little over 5 years. I work outside of the neighborhood, and I'm a grad student over at Christian Theological Seminary studying clinical mental health counseling. And yeah, I just love the neighborhood. I love working to improve green spaces wherever I am, and I'm excited to bring that energy with me maybe here in the neighborhood.
Thank you. I think we were able to hear the bulk of what you were saying, and there was a little interference in the background, but we look welcome, and we look forward to you joining one of the committees or forming one of the committees. At this time, I want to take a break and introduce or reintroduce Carrington. He is the mayor's neighborhood advocate for this area. And the floor is yours.
Okay, first off, I know that violence or crime was mentioned. I know I can reach out to the Office of Public Health and Safety. They have a violence production team. Fairly new, but they definitely been doing some good work. I can connect Ms. Hoskin with Brittany Crone, who is the Chief Communications Officer of OPHS, and see if there can be told to volunteer come out to get some of these meetings. But I do have a few things to say. So recently, the million endowment, $80 million for any parts that happened, I want to say last week or 2 weeks ago, that gives, I want to say 43 different parts in Indianapolis, $80 million. It's a project that is starting now until 2025. Also on Monday, Indy Parks also gave out $5 million to Kenny King Memorial Site, which is a park in at least the greater Orlando area, this area. I also do have a few flyers on the table along with business cards. With 2 flyers, the first 2 flyers are in color for American Red Cross for installing smoke alarms and smoke detectors. Each house is prepared to have 3 smoke alarms, and it's a year-round thing. Also, the last flyer is a request to Indy. If you have any issues with like streets, let's say if you have any issues such as potholes, zoning issues, or even encroachment issues, you can submit a case through request Indy, and which will be sent to the Mayor's Action Center. You'll be sent a case number to keep track of the progress of that case, and they should be able to get back with you. I don't have a specific time frame. They usually don't get back with you, but they should definitely, you would definitely Okay, question on progress of the case. Besides that, I can take any questions that you might have.
What park is it in this area that's getting the part of those funds? Personal park? Oh, okay.
The specifics, I can send a copy, the link for the specifics. I know it's a total of 43 cards. They'll be receiving, probably $80 million.
I think ours got about 600,000, something like that for a new playground.
There's a Indy dedicated page that has like all the drop down, all the works.
Exactly.
Well, the Arsenal Park details are not in the master list that they announced, but in speaking with Don Colvin, the focus for Arsenal Park is a new playground structure. I think there were other amenities upgraded in recent years, but the playground remains outdated. So you'll get a brand spanking new playground and maybe some other minor things. They didn't provide the details of, they listed the major park upgrades, and then they said 15 or so parks were going to get equipment replacement, and Arsenal is on that equipment replacement list.
That's awesome.
That goes towards like as a certified plan of sparking of like, if we create a Friends of Arsenal Park, like, so we all love Holiday Park. Like the city does not maintain Holiday Park, like a non-profit group called the Friends of Holiday Park maintain it and they love it. There's other organizations that it looks like, I think the Lilly grant was like a once in a lifetime type of thing. But the Friends groups receive the bulk of those funds. There's neighbors who are like, we're investing in the park. This is one of the only green spaces that on this kind of like in this neck of the woods as well. Arsenal Park to me needs a lot more than $600,000. And our city needs to give us the lights.
As I renting here and living here for the past few years, my safety concern is pedestrian safety more than like I've never felt unsafe walking around in like a neighborhood itself except for like cars.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern.
I walk my dog from Caroline Avenue over to Monon and back. And especially with the traffic getting diverted from 46th Street to 49th Street, there've been some close calls.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
City on like city, yeah, like so no one ever said how long 46th Street is gonna be closed.
That, yes, so I want to say, I think, I was in a meeting last week, I think they said it would maybe close until the halfway point of March, 46th Street. I'll have a meeting tomorrow, I'll give some more specifics on that.
And as a certified plan, also like having a body that the city should have engaged a group about closing the main thoroughfare for such a long time.
It's fun, they got 49, it's highway.
So
And-
I can have a question.
Yes.
At this point, as far as the organization, like a certified plan, that'd be a piece of paper. What would be the group that sort of represents that, you know? Is it going to be the Keystone-Monon Association? Is it going to be 46th Street? Is it going to be, who's going to be the voice of this? And like, if the answer is it needs to be several people, are we doing outreach for those different churches and things like that? Or have an idea of how to do that?
Michael, do you have?
Okay, did you hear him, Michael?
Yeah, I heard at least the tail end of it in terms of who is the voice for the plan. The good news is the plan itself will serve as its own voice because it gets recorded into the certified plan process needs to be a certified plan for it to have any weight with the city agencies to be considered. You can't just write a land use plan or a neighborhood letter or a quality of life plan anymore and have it have any weight. But when it's successfully completed, the certified plan will be the record of the city when they look at zoning changes in terms of preferences. It's always helpful to have associations that monitor that the city is following that. And just giving you an example, before there was a city certified plan, the city council used to adopt neighborhood plans like Envision Broad Ripple or the Meridian Kessler Land Use Plan or the Maple and Fall Creek Plan. And over the years, the Broad Ripple Land Use Committee has continued to represent and defend, because even when you write a plan, there's components that are subjective to interpretation. And so it does behoove, and part of the reason the city wrote the certified plan process this way was to ensure that you were building an engaged and resilient community to help make clarifications if there's ambiguity in the plan based on interpretation. But it's always helpful to have neighbors stand up for their plan in a land use or a zoning or an alley vacation or a replatting process. As your facilitators and conveners, we monitor land use changes and filings, everything from garages and additions to new mixed use developments to alcohol permits in all 20 neighborhoods. And so we will continue to monitor those things and reconcile them with the plan that you create, and help serve as a reminder and an outreach that, hey, this case doesn't fit your plan. But more than just saying no to it, but helping you sit down with the developer or the petitioner and help negotiate a project or an improvement that better aligns with your plan. And that's really the magic of this, is you're putting a notice out to everybody about what your expectations are, so it's easier for them to meet them. And then when they fail, we're all here together to work to make sure that that plan is honored when a municipal decision is made about it proceeding or not.
And did that answer?
Does that answer your question?
Does
It
it?
does, I mean, it's a plan that is a reference point for anything that gets done here, and everybody can refer to it.
Right, but I think that there's a hope, like on the ground level, that it sparks, like a neighborhood association, you know, it supports Bel Air. Like, I will say, like the gentleman who leads the Bel Air Association is, in regards to zonings and whatnot, he's on it. I mean, he like
Yes, he is.
to the degree or not, yeah, he is on that, but it is a longing that this process brings about more of a cohesiveness and a group that will be able to execute that.
Yeah, and I guess I'd be, when you're negotiating with it, you know, the organizations, you know, like I've seen, like for my job, I attend a lot of neighborhood meetings, so I've attended NOR, and I've seen how they negotiate with.
NOR's scary.
Well, they kind of went away after COVID, but, you know, and different things like that, and the way they negotiate with people, who will be, you know, the negotiators for that, I guess, would it be, you know.
A group will come about, like NOR, how they always had one key person.
Yeah.
But like, the goal is for that one key person not to dominate, right? Not to just be, like, there's a body of individuals who have an interest in the neighborhood, so.
Well, the other thing I would chime into that, Brandon, is we can help build capacity of your community stakeholders to fill these roles. Partners like INRC have a host of programs to train community members to be effective neighborhood leaders. And so through this process, we will be looking to identify folks who want us to invest in their capacity to serve their community. If you're one of those people, or you know folks who might be a fit for that, let us know. Between the zoning and planning and land use academy that was done with the city, to other trainings that INRC offers associations, we can help you stand an association back up. But I think it needs to be organic through this process, and not something that we artificially try to stand up. I think it'll come out of this process. You know, it could be in a month or 6 months or in a year. I think you're going to start to see an increased desire to reconstitute a functioning communication network for the neighborhood.
Thank you. We have about 6 more minutes. And I just want to make sure that your concerns, your issues, thoughts, recommendations are heard tonight. As we prepare for our next meeting, where hopefully we will have a slate for the working groups. We'll definitely, as I shared, put together the framework for those job descriptions or committee descriptions. Any thoughts?
So the next step is just to get people on the street. Is that correct?
That's
And if we
the,
have to not want to nominate or suggest somebody, you send that to Michael or is?
you can send it to me. You can send it to info@Midtown Indy. Info@Midtown Indy. And so, yes, that's the main crutch of this, these meetings right now is to bring the stakeholders together.
And that's midtown, info@midtownindy.org.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for, finishing that for me. In my head, I heard it.
I think we are too dense of a neighborhood to have just this small, like, it's
Yeah.
good to, you start small.
Yes.
But we're very, like, we're one of the densest neighborhoods that are like, around,
We get this many people at the Bel Air neighborhood meeting, and we're only at 8 in the neighborhood.
yeah, sure.
When is the next Bel Air meeting?
Tomorrow.
Where?
7:30 at the new Paradigm Church on Second.
Oh, my backyard. That's easy.
So did everybody hear that?
So it's like, invite more people.
Yes.
Let it like it is. We all like live where we can actually see like 10 or 12 homes, right? Like knock on your neighbor or neighbor's door, don't go on next door. Like, can't stand next door, but like get to know people and invite them. We talk to plenty of people. It's just like, hey, come be a part of something. This is where we live, you know, so.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, and you had to raise your hand. You know we
Could
did.
you repeat that time, Danita, of the meeting? Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's 6 to 7:30 tomorrow at New Paradigm Church, and that's located at where, Cameron?
2021 East 52nd.
2021 East 52nd.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Yes, sir.
Just to put out there, in half an hour, Washington Township Democrat Club's meeting. The Township Government Center right by Planet Fitness, not to like push partisan things on people, but. There's gonna be at least one new state senator there, and I know some of the housing stuff and. Easier to solve at the state level sometimes than the neighborhood level. So that's where I'll be next, if anyone wants to come.
So if anyone wants another meeting to add to their calendar,
Yeah,
the Fall Creek Waterway Committee has our first meeting of the year tomorrow. It'll be online on Zoom, 4:30 to 5:30. I'd be happy to see your emails if you want to get on our listserv. Full of you be determining the project work plan. We're a little bit outside of this direct 46th Street scope, but by Fall Creek for sure. And we're also expanding our domain in the summer. So this sounds something that you want to get involved with the waterways and that connection in person.
Awesome, and thank you for saying that. If you didn't get a chance to sign the sign-in sheet, please do so. If it's full, I have another one here for individuals who are online. If you wouldn't mind just putting your, well, you know what, I have your name because you signed up through info@midtownindy.org. We already have that information. We'll send that out to you as well, any information that we receive. I also want, for the good of the order, to share that as it relates to education for our students on tomorrow, January the 19th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at school, at the Martin Luther King Community Center, there will be an Enroll Indy process. So it's Midtown/Enroll Indy one match program. There are still students who have not been registered in school yet. And especially if they're pre-K or kindergarten, or those who are going to high school or the 8th grade, some of those students are not registered yet. And so Enroll Indy will be on site to help get them enrolled, to help their parents and guardians understand and navigate that whole Enroll Indy process. For me, this is a whole new process from when I was a kid. You just went to the area school. It's not like that anymore. They have to get registered and make sure that they have a seat at the school of their choice. So again, that's tomorrow at 5:30 at the Martin Luther King Center. And all of the Mid-North, Midtown schools have been invited to attend and to send their parents and or guardians of their students there to get enrolled. If you have any questions, feel free to send any and all of your questions to the info@midtownindy.org. I know there were a lot of questions that were thrown around, I don't want to say thrown around, shared tonight. But, and very good questions and comments. And so please feel free to use that as a way to share that information, and we will get that out. Each meeting, although we record the meetings, we also document the meetings with notes. And so those notes or minute meetings are always available as well. And you can see those on the site. Any other questions before we close for the evening? Concerns? All right, well, I will say, please, please, please share the information with your people, your neighbors, places you recreate in this community to get them involved. I keep saying info@midtownindy.org. I want to just drill that into you all's head. So when you talk to them, you don't have to remember my phone number or anything. You just remember info@midtownindy.org, and we will help share that information and get this plan underway. This is really exciting plan. And everything is on our website as it relates to the certified plan. Our next meeting, we hope to have that designated personnel from the planning committee here. We just wanted to make sure that we address any and all concerns that have been brought forth.
And you said the next meeting is February 1st?
15th. It was going to be the 1st, but we changed it to the 15th, and it's changed on our website. And the new postcard flyers that will go out will also indicate that change.
Normally every 2 weeks on a Wednesday. You're just skipping one, right? Yeah.
Yes, and we will be right here. So it's already established. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out and sharing your time. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you,
It's
Danita.
going to be a great one. Thank you, Jesse. Don't forget to sign the sign-in sheet if you did not, please. Eleanor, thank you for coming. Zach, thank you for coming. Have a good rest of the evening.